Hi, this is Seth from Arts Garage. Hope you are having a great week so far. Really excited to share this following interview. Yesterday we sat down with piano extraordinaire Dr. Gianni Bianchini, and we talked about his upcoming performance at Art Garage on Saturday, March 26th at 8 p.m. We also talked a lot about his musical influences, what got him started with jazz and piano, and all the way to where he is now, and what he has coming up in the rest of this year. So don't forget to get your tickets for the Dr. Gianni Bianchini Piano Trio here at Arts Garage on Saturday, March 26th at 8 p.m. on our website at www.artsgarage.org. We will see you then, and please enjoy this interview. Okay, Gianni, it's great to have you here at Arts Garage.
Thank you for having me.
We only have one microphone, so I hope you can we can make this work here. Thanks for coming, and it's great to meet you.
The pleasure's all mine. It's great to be here. Talk like this, or maybe I should just grab it.
That sounds
We'll
good.
go back and forth.
Yeah. So my first question is, where did you grow up, and what was your first introduction to music and jazz? So I know it's a huge question, but
Of course. So I grew up here in Palm Beach County, specifically West Palm Beach, born and raised. So I'm a South Florida boy through and through, and I lived here for the first 18 years of my life, and then I went to Berkeley for my undergraduate, and then NYU for my master's, and Texas for my doctorate, and then I was in Quito for 5 years. Now I'm back in South Florida, happy to be back a part of the South Florida community, and I still travel down to Quito a lot to do that. You asked me though about my influence in music and jazz. So I was fortunate enough to be introduced by this music from my parents and my grandparents. They were the ones who introduced me to John Coltrane, to Bill Evans, Oscar Peterson, all the great jazz pianists and jazz musicians, Miles Davis, Charlie Parker. They were instrumental in exposing me to that music. And as an educator, I work for Berklee College of Music's Global Partners in Ecuador. And as an educator, I feel that that's such an important part, because music is a language, just like anything else. And when you're exposed to it at a young age, you pick it up a lot easier. So I was exposed to it from as a little kid. And the music always resonated with me. So I started playing piano at 4 years old. And I always loved it. And whenever my dad would have jazz on in his car, when I'd go to work with him when I was a kid, I was just drawn to the music, and that was my exposure.
Very cool. That's awesome to hear. And at what point, when you were growing up and you're listening to all these great artists, did you decide that you wanted to pursue this as a profession?
A couple of weeks ago, really. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. There's going to be a lot of jokes in the interview. No, I would say, I always had an affinity for the music. I just, even as a kid, I could never picture my life without it. Mm-hmm. I always knew I wanted to do something with music. And to this day, I not a moment goes by where it's not a part of my daily life, a part of who I am as a person. And even when I was a kid, I never remember not having music in my life, if that makes sense. I know it's a little weird, but I always knew from the first time I started playing piano and hearing that music that there was something about it. I guess, I started getting more serious when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, like, most young kids when they start getting really serious. But even at this young, I started at 4, 5, 6 years old. If ever there was a piano at somebody's house or at a party, or there was a piano at a restaurant, I would go and I would play, and I was always just drawn to the instrument, drawn to the music.
Yeah, that's amazing, and it clearly shows in your playing that you've spent a tremendous amount of time learning about this music. You talked a little bit about your experiences with 3 very different places: Berkeley,
Yes.
NYU, and North Texas.
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 University of Texas.
Oh, I'm sorry. So sorry.
No, it's fine. It happens all the time.
My apologies
okay.
about that. Yeah. So what were your experiences at each of these schools, and how did they help shape you as a musician?
That's a fantastic question, and I love talking about it. So all 3 of my studies had really, really different influences on me. Berkeley is fantastic. It's the largest music school in the world. It's the most global music school in the world. Berklee gave me the tools and the foundation that I needed to become not just a jazz musician, but an all-around musician, I feel. And to this day, I work for the global partners, and we use their curriculum, and it's the best curriculum out there. It really helps establish what it means to be a musician across genres, whether it's jazz or rock or salsa or funk. It doesn't matter. Berklee gives you those tools. So I felt like Berklee did a really great job of doing that. NYU taught me what it was like to be a musician, living in the city,
Right.
going to the jazz clubs, gigging, being part of the Cats. NYU and New York City is kind of what made me grow up in that terms. It's like I took what I learned at Berklee and I was able to implement it in New York and implement it at NYU. And then Texas, that's where I did my PhD. That taught me how to really educate, how to become an educator. And I love educating. I'm always a performer, and performing is in my blood. But the older I get, the more I love giving back and teaching. And it's become such a huge part of who I am as a person now, as an educator, as a teacher. I've been teaching at the university level for almost 8 years now. And Texas really taught me how to do that, how to communicate with people who are getting into this music. Because a lot of people who are great players, they're not the best teachers. If it comes too easily to someone, they don't necessarily know how to explain it to someone, to a student. So Texas really did a fantastic job of teaching me how to deconstruct what I already know and replicate the information to my students.
Yeah. The world needs more teachers like you, Gianni.
And also the barbecue in Texas. That definitely
yes.
was pretty good.
Yes, so good. So you're on faculty, you mentioned this as well, Berklee College of Music in Ecuador. What do you enjoy most about teaching? You talked a little bit about that just now, but and how does that influence you as an artist now that you're kind of giving back to the next generation?
Yeah, so I work for, the name of the university I work at is called La Universidad San Francisco de Quito, and our music school is part of the Berklee Global Partners. So we're using all the Berklee curriculum, Berklee books. We have Berklee professors come down. It's a really great music school down there. And there's sister schools all around the world. Berklee schools in Asia, in Europe, and in South America. So I work at one of those. So moving to Ecuador was definitely a bit of a culture shock. I'm born and raised in the United States, and I'm not Latino. So I didn't speak a word of Spanish moving down there. But being an educator and living down there, it definitely taught me a lot about this music. First of all, as Americans, this is American music. And it's something that I think we all have a connection with and that we all should be proud of. Like, jazz was really the first time the United States was able to give something to the world in the arts. And since then, we've given many things to the world, both good and bad. But jazz really took the whole world in its grasp. And going down to South America and trying to explain North American music to South Americans, I definitely had to find new ways to kind of think outside the box. And it really made me appreciate what I do and try to convey that information to students. Yeah,
that's fascinating. And do you find that having lived in Ecuador and traveling back and forth, that some of the music there has influenced you as well?
Yes, 100%. 100%. There's a type of music in Ecuador called pasillo, which is absolutely beautiful, and I have students who can play it incredibly. And at the end of our lessons, when I hear them playing, I'm always like, "What is that? Show me. That's amazing." I think the important thing about being a good teacher is never finished as a student. I'm always looking for new ways to learn. There's so much music and not enough time. So any time I have an opportunity to learn something, I always try and take advantage of that. You could put on any type of music, and there's always something you can learn from it. And living in Ecuador, that was definitely an experience for me. Playing Latin music, learning a new language. That was tough. But learning the music, learning the culture, how it's not only how it's supposed to sound, but how it's supposed to feel. Many people forget that about music just in general. There's 12 notes in Western music. And you know, a C major is C major whether you're playing jazz or salsa or it's in Mozart. But how does it feel? How is the music supposed to make you feel? How does it feel when you're playing it? How are other people supposed to feel? And that is something that changes depending on the music and on the culture. And understanding how that works is really something beautiful. And moving to Ecuador and living in South America, I learned a lot about Latin music, not just how it's supposed to sound and how to play it, but how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's very interesting, and really cool to hear your influences there. So yeah, what is your current project, and what can we expect from your trio in this new year? And I said trio, if there's something else that you have in the works for this year.
yeah, it's my piano trio.
Yeah.
I always bring in some guest artists, so I'll have people some surprises. But the Gianni Bianchini Trio, Dr. Gianni Bianchini Trio, I always forget that, is what we focus on is to incorporate the tradition of jazz while simultaneously pushing the boundaries for future generations. So I feel as a jazz musician, in my music, I always need to have some sort of subconscious acknowledgement to tradition. Something Christian McBride told me, that this music is built on the greats who came before us. And I always try in each one of my songs and each one of my shows to pay homage to all of the amazing musicians whose shoulders that I stand on. But yet, I also want to play that music that is loved and revered by so many people in my own way, in a future way that people have never heard of. So people will go, oh, I know that song, I love that song. Wow, I never heard it like that. That's really cool. So that is really the focus of my group, taking these great jazz songs that span across generations and playing it for future generations and pushing the envelope into what it can be.
Yeah, we cannot wait for you to come to Arts Garage in a few weeks here. And this is your third performance here, or fourth?
No,
it's way more than that.
I try to come here.
Sorry,
no. So my first show here, I believe, was in 2013.
Okay.
What year? 2020. 9 years ago. So I think I've played here about 6 or 7 times.
Okay.
I usually play here twice a year, once with my piano trio and once with my organ trio, because I play the Hammond B3 as well. And with my organ trio, we do more like funky stuff, jazz as well, but blues and funk as well. Whereas my piano trio is a lot more just traditional jazz. But yeah, I've played here a lot. It's been a while though, so I'm super happy to be back.
Yeah.
I haven't been back since before COVID. I was stuck down there in South America for a long time. Didn't come home for a while, so it's great to see. You know, this is my favorite place to play. I love coming here.
Yeah. We paid him to say.
Yeah, yeah, checks in the mail. No, I love playing here. I love Delray Beach, and this place is really a gem. It promotes so much great music and art, and it's really, really beautiful. So every chance I get to play here, I never miss an opportunity. I love this establishment, and I'm so happy to be back.
Yeah. Well, we are very happy to have you back, and it's been great learning all about your life so far and all the really interesting and cool things you're up to. And we can't wait to see you on Saturday, March 26th at 8 p.m. here at Arts Garage. And you can get your tickets online at www.artsgarage.org. And we will see you on March 26th. Thank you, Gianni.
Thank you.
Yeah.